Breaking news out of the Golden State Warriors camp. Star player Draymond Green has been arrested and could face assault charges. Multimedia sources are running this, and the details are that Draymond Green was arrested early Sunday at an East Lansing, Michigan restaurant and is scheduled for arraignment on July 20th. This is what the police told ESPN. So the quotations and the stories have been ran across all major sources, and the fact is there was an altercation between two guys, no injuries, and the subject who was arrested was released with a $200 bond on Sunday, and then Bleacher Report basically summed it up and wrapped it up in a big bow. There was an altercation with a fan, and Draymond slapped him in the face, and that's according to reports. No facts here as of yet, and if there was ever a story tailor-made for a TYT guest to come on, this was it. J.R. Jackson, your thoughts on this?
I feel like it's December 24th. We're about to unwrap some gifts. Santa brought me the gift that can last me all year.
Oh, you're a bad man.
If you guys follow me on Twitter during the NBA playoffs, not finals, playoffs, I mean regular season actually,
yeah,
you'll understand my general disdain for said Draymond Green.
Yeah.
And actually, this is the least surprising thing I could imagine from him. I wouldn't have called it. You know, I'm not going to be that crazy about it. But this is what's going to happen to a guy who you have to understand the level of animosity that is built for him based off what has happened during the season, what happened during the playoffs specifically, the way he got suspended for that game because of his aggression, and the things he did on the court with other players. So this is bound to happen if you get into these situations. And he likes to go out. I've seen several stories about him going out. I think it was the day after they lost. He was out at a strip club, one of the more like high-level strip clubs, and only certain clientele can come in. And he's out all night. He's a guy. He drinks. He parties. And actually, I love that. That's what you're supposed to. Enjoy your life. Do whatever the hell you want. You're a single dude, and you have a lot of money, and you're well-known. Use it. I'm not mad at you for that. So, but I think the twist comes in that, man, let him go. Let him go. Okay, so think about it.
You're saying Warriors let him go?
No, everyone. I mean, as far as the law, I mean, they gotta charge him. I think it's going to be at most a $500 fine and 93 days in jail.
Well, the extreme cases, yeah.
Which he's not going to get 93 days in jail.
No way.
Come on. And the $500 fine, good. $500. So which I think, okay, so those things, yeah, go through the systems because you're not going to you can't let him be above the law because of who he is. But in general, I mean, of course, you're going to reach out to the Warriors and say, what do you think about this? And honestly, if I was running the Warriors organization, I would tell the media immediately, we're going to investigate what happened.
Yeah.
And after we find out that it is what it seems, which if that's what happens, we find out it is what it seems to be, we don't care.
Yeah.
This is a bar fight that happened between guys, whether or not you're 6'10" or you're 5'10", and someone taunts you and gets into a fight with you, because I really believe that's what happened.
So the Warriors actually did release a statement, and it was along that line. We are aware of news involving Draymond Green in Michigan over the weekend. At this point, we are collecting information and will have no further comment until we have a better understanding of the situation. Right. So my thoughts on Draymond. I am going to take a little bit of a different approach to you. I think that I'm not surprised. I'm a big fan of Draymond Green. I defended him a lot through the regular season. I actually thought he's been the second best player for the Warriors throughout the season. I know Klay Thompson's usually the next in line, the Robin to Steph Curry. But I think that Draymond Green's very important to that team. But Draymond Green continues to fluctuate, and he continues to just skate along that very thin line as to when his aggression and his passion begins to harm his team. And in the finals, whether you believe he was worthy of a suspension or not, it harmed their team, and everyone's looking at Game 5, and everyone's thinking, what happens if Draymond Green played? They could have wrapped it up. You have your arguments either way. I'm not going to hold it against. I don't want to put asterisks on any finals. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers, LeBron James, deserve, with their performance, to have this just written off as a great win for the Cavs. But if I'm part of the Golden State Warriors and I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, all right, JR, we have Draymond Green, from what we understand, he's been antagonized, and he slapped a guy. That's a red flag for the same problem that we faced already in the season. Is he might be antagonized by an opponent. He might resort to kicking him in the nuts. He might resort to getting a little bit physical. So I'm thinking this is just another case of Draymond Green not being able to manage his anger.
Right, and by the way, in sports, that happens across every line, right? So when it's on the field or on the court in sports, things happen. There's baseball fights. Hockey is known for it, obviously. Football doesn't happen as much because of the melee that could happen. There's so many weapons that could be used as far as helmets and stuff like that, and just so many players. So that it's a lot less likely as far as football fights because they come down so much harder. But this happens on the field of play all the time. So things like the kicking and the punching and all the things that Draymond got into trouble for, he's not going to get excluded from the NBA over it. He serves a suspension. He gives a fine. Those things happen all the time, actually. So as far as on the field of play, we're okay with this aggression. When it's out in regular life, it's not okay. As long as it stays in this realm, again, I'm with the stuff is going to happen like that. There's people who don't play sports who are just mad when someone gets up and antagonizes them. And he slapped the guy, which we mentioned off air. I think in his mind, he's like, this isn't going to be a big deal. I'm going to slap him, embarrass him, make him feel like a little baby. Yeah. Slap him, say, shut up, dude, and slap him away, and this is going to be easy, written off. Maybe I'll get in trouble, but no one's going to take it seriously that I have an anger problem.
Yeah. But that's the thing is he needs to, I don't know, I'm always harsh on these situations, right? The same thing comes when it's American football players. The countless times we see American football players channel their aggression in the only way that they're taught to do so. And I'm not, when I do these subjects, especially with American football, I don't sit there and go, these guys are just idiots. I think there's a bigger systematic problem. I think there's a problem with athletes in the United States who are taught from an early age to go out and hammer their opponents, in American football mostly, that they don't know how to deal with any adverse situations other way. So you get guys beating their wives, you get guys beating their kids, because they just don't know how to deal with aggression. It's a systematic problem. But in this situation with Draymond Green, this is where you want him to try and show some sort of maturity. And I understand this is all part and parcel of why Draymond Green's such an intriguing character, because he wears his heart on his sleeve and he's so passionate, and I love that about him. But I can just picture the situation, and this is me completely going out on a whim. This is me just, I don't know the facts, but a guy's probably like, you suck, Cavs won, blah, blah, blah. Well, if that happens to LeBron James, if he's losing, he's going, get away. Like, I don't need to deal with this. Whereas Draymond Green, a little bit more immature, a little bit more naive, and you're exactly right. He probably thinks, I'm just going to disregard this guy. This is what this guy wants. This is what this person, if he's antagonizing, wants. He wants to get this response. He wants to get Draymond Green brought in front of the spotlight, and the same thing's happening again. And I do understand it happens in sports, in every sport. It happens all the time. But you need to weigh up the situation with how common does it happen to one athlete. And Draymond Green may be a victim a lot of the time and may come under a lot more scrutiny, but it's bound to continue to happen whilst these instances occur. Referees will keep a further eye on Draymond Green after last year, next year. So you got to think, is the Golden State Warriors going to think, all right, we need to do something here?
I think that'd be a bad idea. But the thing is I want to, you're an athlete. You played sports a long time, particularly football. Yeah. Not our beat in the head football. I played basketball. I played a little bit of football in high school. Then before I realized I didn't want to do that anymore. Yeah. And I ran track. But basketball was, again, one of my major sports. So the thing is what kind of competitor were you? So in a tense situation, in a situation where people are talking trash, in a situation where people are doing potentially dirty things under the guise to you. Like, there's little jabs and things that happen in every sport. What kind of reaction did you have? Like, were you a fiery guy? Yeah. Were you I'll let it all pass? Were you a mellow competitor? Because I wasn't.
JR, I'm Scottish. It's in our blood to be angry. So all of my friends that be watching and people who might have seen some of my clips, I don't know how, of me playing football, I was an aggressive player when I played. And most of the time, I wouldn't do it so that the referee wasn't looking. I would make sure to do, as we call a Scottish tackle, where we take the ball, but you take the player right through. And a lot of the time, I got cards, especially in the US where it wasn't as physical. So I wouldn't I'm not looking at myself as a perfect example. I don't know if it's a problem of mine, is I hold professional athletes on a different caliber, because it's like I potentially pursued professional sports and I never got to the level that I wanted to. And I feel like these guys who get to that level are in such a unique situation in life. It's the same thing when it happens. I get scrutinized in the comment section when I rip into like the MMA fighter Nick Diaz, who will smoke weed consistently, even though he knows it's against the rules. And I think that's taken for granted, the position you're in. So maybe I'm a little harsh on Draymond, where I'm like, you're maybe taking for granted the position you're in, because you need to expect that at your level. When you're such a star athlete, you need to expect that people are going to try and get under your skin, and you just need to somehow try and rise above it.
Do you think you could have done it? Like, say you made professional athletics. You get to the level where worldwide people know who you are. You go to a country that you beat their ass, and by the way, we talked about Draymond should expect this. He knows he has this higher level of a spotlight, a bright spotlight on him now. So you go to another country, you're still a fiery guy, but you're out and you're hanging out, and someone just makes sure. There's some people who want to get to you. I'm sure this guy was one of them that got to Draymond. And some people, maybe, like you brought up LeBron James, his mentality is a lot more chill. Yeah. But what if your mentality isn't? It's just who you are. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard, honestly.
It is. It's an interesting
And it's what
question.
makes Draymond good, as you said, he wears his heart on his sleeve.
Exactly.
That's part of his game.
And that's why when it comes to within the realm of sports, I always say there's that line. It's like, when are you channeling your inner passion and your inner aggression to help your team positively? Like Steve Kerr will always say that in the training grounds and on the court, we need Draymond there. He's a pain in our ass, but he's the one to tell us when we're being complacent. He's the one to tell us that we need to go a step further to make sure that something that we don't get too comfortable in our position. You always need that. But then I've witnessed in many different sports when that starts to harm your team, when your passion and your aggression starts to come back and bite your team on the ass. And I personally think that it wasn't a coincidence that the Golden State Warriors lost a crucial game in Game 5 without Draymond Green, because he was able to be in there to, not just tactically. I talked about this. I amazed Jason when I talked about how Draymond Green is a safety net for people like Klay Thompson and Steph Curry to be a little bit more aggressive defensively, because if they are beat, Draymond's the man behind them, and he's there to provide that safety net. So without him, it wasn't just his physical presence, but mentally, Golden State got a little bit complacent. So I think it harmed them that his aggression got beyond that point. And that's where I think you need to monitor it, whether it's off the court or not. So maybe we might disagree on that.
I mean, if nothing else, and that's the thing, it's who he is, but if you recognize it, then what he needs to do is, even if it's as simple as just getting getting some, it doesn't have to be as extensive as anger management classes. That's too much. I mean, just someone that tells you how to relax and what to respect and what to expect when you're out and about in the world.
Yeah.
And maybe he lets you get ahead of him and be like, remember these things to go through, Draymond.
Yeah.
And chill out.
Well, and the final point is, you never know now. Like, now that this guy has seen a rise, this person who's involved in the case, it's going to be a huge spotlight on other idiots that want to go and pose this reaction to athletes. So when anyone gets the chance, they might try and take it a step further. And you never know how things can escalate.
Money,
so
they want a lawsuit, anything.
Exactly. Right? So we will bring you more details as it comes. At the moment, this is as much information as we know on Draymond Green. But as soon as it happens, we will break the news to you. Make sure to check out JR Jackson on Twitter at JR Jackson.
JR Jackson.
Nice, with a nice big blue check. Where'd you get the blue check? I need a blue check.
I can't tell you.
That's unbelievable.
They gave it to me and they said not to tell anyone else.
Back here on TYT Sports, and I'll see you guys soon.